Welcome, everyone, to the Healing Sexual Trauma Summit. I am Marcia Little, your host, and with us today we have Marina Nabao. Marina, welcome.
Thank you. So good to be here.
It's so good to have you. In a moment, I'll tell you more about Marina, but I like to start all of my speaker interviews with a moment with the speaker, myself, and you, the viewer, to invite you to just get present. And I'll just lead you in a moment of getting present in your bodies, if that feels good to you. If that doesn't feel good to you, then don't do it. Okay, that's always the invitation. So feel free to close your eyes if that feels good, or just lower your gaze and see if you can bring awareness to the sensation of your feet on the floor if you're sitting, or the sensation of your body, whatever it's making contact with, in whatever shape you're in. You just allow the energy to settle. And then as you settle, you may notice the quality of your breath. And without forcing anything or trying to make any changes, just sort of notice what's happening with your breath. Also in this moment, your body may start to be talking to you, and you may notice places where it feels a little tight or places where it feels easy and energized. So just taking note. And by taking note, you may notice the quality of relaxation, deeper relaxation becoming available. As we move through this interview, if at any moment you notice your body tightening or your breath getting more shallow or just feeling uncomfortable or overwhelmed, please feel free to pause the video, take a break, shake it out, walk around, come back when you're ready to watch the rest, or not at all. Your choice. When you're ready, you can come on back, open your eyes if they're closed, back to the screen and back to Marina Nabao. Marina Nabao is a body enthusiast, passionate about the wisdom and healing power of our bodies and all the ways we are able to integrate mind, body, spirituality in a conscious and loving way so we can thrive. As an embodiment coach and somatic healer, she supports women and non-binary vulva owners who are trapped in the chains of past trauma and have a deep desire to reclaim their sovereign power and inner freedom. Marina is also a senior teacher at Layla Martin's year-long VITA Sex, Love, and Relationship Coaching certification. Marina grew up in Brazil and now lives in the San Francisco Bay Area with her husband and their rescue dog, Jessie. Marina, anything else you'd like our viewers to know about you?
Yeah, I think that what comes up for me is how much I believe in embodiment work as a pathway of liberation, really. So it's so clear for me that this disconnection from our bodies is also representing the disconnection that we all have from the planet, from the earth, from our communities, from the collective. And I truly believe that coming back intentionally in connection with the body is also connecting with one another, connecting with this planet. And this for me is so revolutionary, and it's a path of liberation. So, yeah, I think that's what I would add.
That's wonderful. Was there a moment in time where this became really clear for you?
There was, I think, the beginning of my own embodiment journey, right? I have to say that I never considered myself a completely disembodied person. I come from a family of yogis, so bodily awareness has always been a thing for us in our house growing up. Um, I did lots of movement and movement classes, dancing classes, and so on. But I realized that once I started studying more specifically holistic sexuality, the path of Tantra, Taoism, Neo Tantra here in the West, I noticed that there is such a huge shift when we reconnect to the body with intention. I think the word intention shifts everything for me,
Mhm.
because I felt my body. If I was dancing, I needed to feel what was going on, right? But like really noticing with time, slowing down my pace, learning the language of my body, which are the sensations of my body, right? And recognizing them and following them, getting curious about my sensations, getting curious about what was happening with my body during the day when I was sitting down and work, or when I was doing my pleasure practices, or when I was in a stressful moment driving my car in the traffic, right? So for me, that was like, oh, there is so much information here that I wasn't paying attention to, right? And first realizing that was a big moment, but then building this awareness and intentionally paying attention to my body and noticing how I reacted in different situations with different people, with different memories that came to my mind, right? And then, okay, how can I then use this in a way of trusting more of my intuition, of my inner wisdom, so that I can lead my life more in alignment with the truth of who I am. And the truth of who I am is not so much in the conditionings of my mind, in the beliefs that I kind of inherited from my culture, from, upbringing, religion, and so on. It's more in within me. And in order for me to notice that, I need to be very familiar and intimate with the body. So that for me was the big shift, when I started intentionally relating to the body. And I think that's a big difference from just doing somatic practices, movement classes, even yoga, coming from a family of yoga. If there isn't the intention to use it as an embodiment tool, as an embodiment, not only tool, I'm not such a fan of the word tool, but as an embodiment journey, right? Then I think we can go so much deeper. Yeah.
I love that. We call it having an intentional embodiment journey.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I love that.
Hmm.
So, this is a special summit. It's the Healing Sexual Trauma Summit. And you agreed to be part of this, and I'm curious why.
For a number of reasons. First, because I believe that there aren't enough qualified spaces where we can have conversations around sexual trauma in a way that is contemplating the healing possibilities of it, as opposed to, oh, now you have this and your life will be stuck forever. And I see that conversation more open than the conversation, look, you might have sexual trauma. It's possible to heal that. And it's possible to live a beautiful, thriving life as you heal, as you open up yourself for life again. So I think for me, it's first that the commitment to be part of this conversation, to be part of the spaces where these qualified conversations are happening, and also to provide information for so many people who have no access. Right? I think it's easy for like now I live in the US. I think it's easy for people in the US to think that anyone can search Google and find information about sexual trauma healing because it's all there, right? But when you go to other parts of the world, it's clear that it's not all there. It's clear that it's not that easy. And I think that providing these spaces is also a matter of social justice. in a way, you know, giving access to more people, giving access to all these amazing people that you're interviewing, to like a bunch of people who can actually learn from this, right? And for me, the whole sexual trauma healing journey, for me, it's about empowerment and agency. It's about, okay, there was a disruption, there was a fragmentation. And with the disruption and the fragmentation, we walk in life disempowered. We walk in life forgetting that we have agency over ourselves, our bodies, our pleasures, our desires, our yeses and nos, and I don't know, and maybe, right? So for me, the whole process of healing from trauma is actually to walk towards empowerment and agency. So getting back that wholeness of who we are. And trauma, we know trauma is the fragmentation of the self, is this disconnection of the self, right? So yeah, did I answer your question?
Yeah, you really did. And you started getting into some things that we're going to talk some more about, but I want to just come back to. So, yeah, you said a lot of really important things. And one of them, I think, is that, or one that you didn't, but that's implied that I'm going to bring in is that when it comes to sexual trauma, because it happens in the body, it's so important that we do the healing in the body, which is why I'm so happy to talk to you because you're an embodiment expert.
Yeah, yeah,
And the fact that so many people with sexual trauma don't have access, like you said, to the people who have already figured out how to thrive, despite the fact that this roadblock or this traumatic event has occurred that in some way has fragmented them from themselves in some significant way. So yeah, I like everything that that you said so far. All right, so let's come back to this question of the importance of embodiment, and particularly as in regards to healing sexual trauma.
yeah,
So can you speak more about that? Why it's
yeah,
so.
of course.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, it's actually key to a healing process, from my point of view, from my very humble point of view. But what we know now with researches on neurobiology, neuroscience, is that trauma lives in the body, right? And it's not just the sexual trauma. It's all sorts of traumatic experiences that we have, like a car accident, going to war, starving in your childhood, developmental trauma. All of these have imprints in our bodies and in our nervous systems. So this fragmentation, this disconnection is imprinted in the body, in the soma, right? And trying to talk our ways out of it is not effective. It's not. And I see so many people who are amazing professionals trying really hard to support sexual trauma survivors through therapy only. And it's almost like, how do you say this in English? Oh my God, I totally, I don't have this word in English, but like when you're trying to run on a floor filled with soap and you're slippery,
Uh-huh,
you
uh-huh.
don't go anywhere.
Right, there's no traction.
There's no traction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So because trauma causes this separation, this rupture within us, it's important to use embodiment and somatics as a way to start making those, building those bridges again and making those connections again so that we can be more whole, right?
Love what you just did with your hands there.
Yeah.
You know, it
Because
reminds
that's
me,
it.
yeah, it reminds me of like my son, he had a spinal surgery at one point, and they have to cut the nerve endings. And
Mm,
it takes time for the nerves to grow back. And that's
yeah.
just the image that you shared there.
Yes.
It
Yes.
can grow those pathways back again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We can, and it takes time. I think that's an important thing to talk about when we're talking about sexual trauma and healing from it. There's no magic. There
Mm,
is no, oh, there you go. You're ready, move on. No, it's a process of then finding the wholeness again, sort of mending the nervous system, teaching the nervous system that now in the present moment you're not in the threat, you're not experiencing whatever it is that you experience once or maybe for years in your life, which
mm,
is the case of so many people. um, so there is this telling, this teaching and telling the nervous system that first, you're not stuck in the past anymore. And this is so much of how trauma um, operates in our systems, right? It takes us, it's almost like we take a photo of the past and then we're stuck in that photo. We're there, right? And then because we're there, we're always in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, right? And we need to remember to look at the present moment, build our capacity to feel safe now, to know that we are safe enough now so that we can renegotiate those traumatic memories, so that we can find integration for what happened. But we find integration in the present, in the now. And the work, the somatic work that I do, and the embodiment work that I do, focusing on healing trauma, is so much about finding that inner safety in the present moment, regulating the nervous system so that you don't need to stay stuck in your flight or fight response, or even in your freeze or in your fawn response, so that you learn to flow, because that's what a good nervous system looks like, right? We flow, hyperarousal, hypoarousal. We have this what we can call this healthy, um, it's not anger, this healthy rage, these healthy ways of dealing with the energy of anger, because that's an important energy for us as survivors, as people in life,
mm,
really, right? And we can flow. So to learn how to do that, first we need to find some regulation in the now, and then teach ourselves like we're here, we're present, this is the body, this is what's happening in the body, this is my container. Learning to be in this container. For so many sexual trauma survivors, dissociation is a response, right? It's a go-to response, because, and I respect so much dissociation. I just need to say that there's so much beauty in dissociation as something that helps survivors survive the unbearable,
mhm,
right? So it's more like learning to look at dissociation as something that was helpful then,
mhm,
it might not be helpful now, and how can we bring our whole self back to this container, which is the body.
mhm.
And this is also the process of healing trauma,
Yeah.
right? And once this body feels safe enough, once this nervous system feels strong enough to hold overwhelming emotions, thoughts, memories, then we can renegotiate the past. Then it's easier. It's not that we erase the past. We cannot undo the past, unfortunately,
Mhm,
right? But we can find ways to find an inner place that can live with that. Put that in a space within us that, yes, this happened to me. I have this mark, I have this wound, right? But this wound doesn't define the rest of my life. This wound doesn't prevent me from relating to other people, from feeling pleasure. in all its beauty. This wound doesn't prevent me to know that I'm a worthy and deserving person,
Mhm.
right? So the wound becomes a mark of life that so many of us carry.
Mhm.
Right?
So rich. There's so much in what you just said.
Yeah.
I particularly resonate with the notion that little by little, as we grow our nervous system's capacity, what once felt overwhelming no longer overwhelms the immune system or the nervous system now in present time. And so that experience of being locked in the past and the present, I'm guessing we might be able to say just gets kind of smaller and
Mhm.
smaller, or the power in it reduces and gets less and less.
Yeah.
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 Is that kind of what you're
Yeah.
saying?
Yes, it is that. And another way of saying this is the resilience, creating resilience so that those huge, overwhelming experiences, they can be felt and then they can go. Because if our nervous system is flowing, if it's operating in an optimal state,
Mhm.
we can experience those overwhelming sensations without freaking out, without, yeah, really, without like losing it, right?
Right.
Because we created so much elasticity, so much resilience within ourselves that we know that we won't be stuck there forever,
Uh-huh.
that we have the tools, we know the path, we have embodied the path of bringing ourselves back to the present and to regulation,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So I think that I would add the word resilience there.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
So many ways to think of resilience. I mean, I think early on, part of our resilience is like you're saying, what the nervous system does to protect us, so that becoming disembodied is a form of resilience at that
Yes.
stage. And
Yes.
then later on, becoming re-embodied.
Yes. Yes.
Resilient.
Yeah. Yeah. And Marcy, I think this is such an important um, point for us to highlight because I see so many of my clients, so many of my students who are sexual trauma survivors and who dissociate until now, punishing themselves for it. Like, oh, I'm completely dissociated. I'm a bad person. Like, no, 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 no. You survived. And
Mhm.
this was the way that your body and that your nervous system helped you
Mhm.
bear the unbearable. No, we need to show gratitude and acceptance for the disassociation. And from that place of gratitude and acceptance, slowly bring all those pieces back because now in the present moment, you don't need to leave your body anymore,
Yeah.
right? So I really would invite everybody who is watching here and who knows that this association is a response for them to really find some compassion for that and really gratitude
Mhm.
because it helped them so much. And there is, it is possible to bring your full self back, to re-embody, as you said,
Mhm.
right? It is possible. That's the work that we're doing. So yeah, I just wanted to point that this reminder. Yeah.
So two things come up for me in working. I also work with people around these issues and in
Mm.
embodiment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's such, I'm humbled every time I work with somebody, and I learn from every single person who I work with, and everybody's so different. And so I may have people, and you probably experience this too, for whom even getting into their body feels inaccessible or scary or pain or too painful, and or they're in so much pain um, from that part of themselves that is in charge, that is sort of the piece that kind of fractured off, that they hate that part of themselves, right? So I love what you're saying, because it's like, okay, It's
Mm,
such a normal part of the process. And then bringing the compassion in, which is easy.
yeah. Yeah, but I think that when, especially when we're talking about sexual trauma, for me personally, if the whole healing process is not immersed in a pool of compassion, it can be too hard, you know. It can
Yes.
be too hard. And compassion is like help us build the strength to deal with the things we need to deal with, right? And opens up our hearts to our own healing and self acceptance of whatever it is that we went through, right? So I think I think that embodiment in a way invites compassion,
Mm.
right? Because when we're talking about overwhelming sensations, just like you said, for some clients, it's so difficult to be with their bodies because they have so many bad memories in that body, right? The process of coming back, the process of befriending your body is also the process of building compassion for yourself,
Mhm.
right? There is no way you can befriend this body that feels so much pain, that feels so much fear, right? Or that doesn't feel anything, that is numbed. There's no way you can befriend it if there is not the essence of love, which is compassion, right? So yeah.
Love that. Um, so you say that um, we've already talked about this, so I'm just wondering if there's anything more you want to add. That nervous system regulation equals gentle trauma integration. And you've been speaking about that.
Yeah.
Anything more about that you want our viewers to understand?
Yeah, maybe we just need to say that's what we were talking about, right?
Because that is what we're
Yeah,
talking about.
yeah. But yes, so this process of learning first to notice when you're in fight, flight, and freeze or fawn. First, acknowledge, right, where you are, and then learning the steps to stay with your response in a titrated way, in a way that is not re-traumatizing, that is not overwhelming, but in a way that shows you that you can deal a little bit with that, with, let's say, with a fight response, and then you can come back and restore goodness and find some regulation. And then you, if you're stuck in a freeze response, there are ways for you to get out of that and store regulation. So navigating all of that is the healing itself, because that's what builds resilience, that's what open the flow, and that's also what will enable all of us to trust more of ourselves in stressful moments. And it doesn't necessarily need to be in a traumatic moment, but the way that most people live their lives today is quite stressful and overwhelming for the nervous system,
Mhm.
right? The long hours of work, having to, to deal with work life, family life, all the things, paying your bills, surviving, thriving, and so on. This is already a lot of information for our nervous systems. So, learning to navigate that and finding the regulation there is also a way to build resilience for the modern life, for the way that we're living our lives, right? And it's a way for almost like a continuous self healing. Yeah, because like, oh, I had a very stressful day. I was, oh my God, overwhelmed. And then the traffic and getting home. Okay. And then I get home and I know what I need to do to settle. I
Mhm.
know what I need to do to find some regulation.
Mhm.
And then I don't stack layers and layers of stress anymore,
Mhm.
which is the cause of burnout for so many people. right? So I'm actually, through continuous nervous system regulation, I'm actually self-healing daily,
Mhm.
hourly for some people,
Mhm.
right? And that's a healing process for sure. Does that
It,
make sense?
it does make sense. And as you were talking, I was just envisioning all of us being with with COVID and during the last year, kind of having this opportunity for the nervous system to get a big relaxation, a time where it
Mm,
was not so stimulated, at least by the outer world, because we couldn't do so much with others. And I know it was hard in other ways, of course, the social aspects, but in a way, it's kind of like, oh, one possible opportunity is that the nervous system got to just calm down for a while and not
yes.
be stimulated. And in a sense,
Yeah.
if we can get a strong hit of that, like you're saying, and we begin to become more adept at noticing when the nervous system is in a state of overstimulation, and when we start to learn how and give ourselves the gift of ah, bringing it back down again, and not instead of doing the thing that is habitual, which is, well, I'm still going to do another thing, and then
Yeah.
it's getting even more out of whack, and then some trigger, some traumatic trigger comes in and whoosh, way off the charts and freaking out, like you said.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. But going back to the pandemic, I think there are experiences and experiences, right? Like I have friends who have kids and live in small apartments.
Ah,
And spending a year or so with kids in a small apartment, you
very.
know, even if you're not concerned about your survival, about making money, things like that,
Mm.
is quite an intense experience for those mamas' nervous systems, you know, and the
Yes.
kids as well. Poor kids,
Yes.
oh my God,
Yes.
right? So I think that there's so many stories of the pandemic that could be those beautiful stories of like, oh, for me it was a moment to slow down, to reevaluate my life, to find some relaxation, to take in my yoga practice back or my meditation practice back, you know. For so many people I hear that story, and for some others it's like, oh my God, I can't do
That
this
at
anymore,
all. Yeah,
right?
I'm glad that you brought that up because that's so true. It's so true.
Yeah,
And I know
yeah,
many people for whom, and I watched that being true as well.
yeah.
Um, I want to I want to end our talk today by talking about recovering a sense of agency and power as we heal. You've talked a little
Mm,
about that,
yeah,
but I feel like there's more to say.
yeah, yeah. Well, first of all, Marcy, for me, the whole, if we can say, the whole goal of trauma healing is empowerment and agency. Because if we see how trauma operates in our bodies, in our systems, we see that there is a complete disconnection with our sense of power and agency, right? So the age for sexual trauma survivors, oh my God, the agency over our bodies, our boundaries, and having those crossed for some people once, for so many people for years, over and over again. So reclaiming that is only possible when we build internally that reconnection with these bodies and these boundaries as ours,
Mhm.
as nobody else's, even if that's what other people tried to convince us through the things that they did, right? So, and once people are able to step into that knowing, to step into that inner reconnection, that's where the power lives and that's where the agency lives. You know, it's not more about the others, what other people say I should do, think, wear, look like. It's not in the hands of the world. It's here. It's me with myself.
Mm. I love
And
that movement, actually,
yeah,
right here
yeah,
in this
yeah.
body, in this self.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yes,
Just
yes,
bringing it back in.
Yeah.
and moving from that place.
Yeah. And moving from that place. And also from bringing that in and recognizing this body, this boundary, this power that we have within. We also recognize our sovereign power, right? Our sovereignty. And there is no way that once we recognize that we are sovereign beings, that we won't extend that courtesy to the others.
Yeah. I can
You
feel
know,
I love to get into the truth of that, just listening to you and even taking those motions, reaffirming it, and then imagining myself going back out into the world from and standing in my own power and my own agency and looking at the world from that place and acting in the world from that place and being in the world from that place. It's
yeah,
a beautiful thing. And I think even if you don't have sexual trauma, just being a woman and maybe even just being a person,
yeah,
that's like part of the work.
it is. It is. And it's part of the revolution that we need in this world as well. Because so many of the problems that we have, the big problems, the social problems, the shared problems, so much of it is because we all forgot that we're sovereign beings. We all forgot that we have our inner power to choose authentically the lives that we want to live. We all forgot that we have agency over ourselves, our bodies, our desires, whatever, right? So rebuilding that also is a way to make this world different,
Yeah, right.
really in a very deep way,
Yeah,
in a
very.
very deep way, right? So for me, the work, the trauma healing work is revolutionary, is a path of liberation for all, right? I cannot see this disconnected. And it's, yes, it starts individually. It starts with your individual journey, with your individual trauma and finding all of that. But man, when a person heals, it's like it's
Exponent.
like a garden.
Yeah,
It flourishes and everybody can see and feel and smell,
yeah, yes,
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I love that image. And
yeah.
in a healthy garden, there's a tremendous diversity of all life forms. And that's the kind
Exactly.
of garden I think you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah. And they coexist in harmony, right? There is no better or worse. And that's what we need in this world in terms of social justice, racial justice, civil rights, not even civil. I think we're in a time that we have to talk about human rights all over again, right? Yeah. And I really don't believe the revolution is going to be from the government downwards. It has never been like that. It's from the people, from individuals who heal themselves and then extend that to the others around them. And then there is a community that is so much healed that they're like, oh, there is racism here, there is injustice here, there is, people are starving here. We need to do something because we are all part of it. It's not just me, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I could go on and on in
I
this
know, I love it.
discussion.
I think we'll close with those thoughts because what you're saying is when we have the intention and we to become embodied, more embodied, and to heal ourselves,
Mm,
we are healing not just ourselves, we're healing others, our communities, and the
yeah,
planet. And
yeah.
that's where it's at. Marina, without further ado, I just a deep bow to you and the beautiful work that you're doing and the difference that you're making. And I think we heard your dog there at some point. Did we hear your dog? So
That's
cute.
Jessie.
Wanted to come on in and be part of our talk.
She always does that. Sorry.
That was a beautiful thing. So let's both end with just our hands on our hearts and yeah, thank you all.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Yeah.